What the hell is this that we're watching? Bad, crappy football is a circus.
Oh, I don't even think Kevin thinks like that. I think Kevin would rather get fired than play Shedeur at this point.
The New York Jets are drowning, and a top WFAN host just went on air and said the quiet part out loud. Trade for Shedeur Sanders, right now, no excuses. But here's the part nobody in New York wants to hear. The Browns front office already answered that question, and the price they put on the table is not what anyone in New York was expecting. Today, we're breaking down the real question, the real reason Cleveland is holding on, and why this whole thing might blow up before it even starts. Let's set the scene. The Jets are one of the worst teams in football right now, and it is starting to get ugly in the media. A WFAN host went on air this week and basically demanded that General Manager Darren Mogi pick up the phone and call Cleveland. His pitch was simple. Send the Browns a late-round pick, get Shedeur Sanders back in return, and see what he can do behind center for a Jets team that has completely fallen apart under Justin Fields. And look, you can understand the frustration. New York handed Fields a 2-year deal worth around $40 million this offseason, and through 6 weeks, it has been a disaster. The offense looks lost, the record is ugly, and every week that goes by without a real answer at quarterback is another week Aaron Glenn's seat gets hotter. So when a guy like Evan Roberts goes on air and starts throwing out Shedeur's name, Jets fans listen, because right now they are desperate for literally anything that looks like hope. Here's the thing, though. The frustration itself is not really about Shedeur Sanders. It is about a front office that had multiple chances, over multiple rounds, to draft this same quarterback themselves, and passed every single time. Now, 6 weeks into a lost season, they want to solve that mistake by trading for the guy they walked past on draft weekend. That is not a small ask either. That is a franchise admitting out loud that they misjudged their own quarterback room, and now they want the team that got it right to bail them out. But here's where it gets interesting. The suggestion floated on WFAN was basically a straight swap. Cleveland's 5th rounder for New York's 5th rounder, and Shedeur comes to the Jets. On paper, that sounds harmless. In reality, that is not even close to a real conversation, and Cleveland media picked that apart almost instantly. Because Shedeur is not just a name on a roster to the Browns anymore. He's a kid this organization drafted, developed, and has been sitting with through an entire season, while everyone in the building learns exactly what they have. You do not get that back for a 5th-round pick, not after everything that has gone into this. And that's where the actual number being floated around Cleveland gets a lot more real and a lot more expensive than anyone in New York wants to admit.
All I'm saying is I see a talent, a guy I think we all talked about him as a guy that could at least be a serviceable starting quarterback in the NFL. They are not giving him a chance in Cleveland. If I'm Darren Mogi, I call up my contemporaries in Cleveland, and I say, here's a 5th-round pick back. Here's your 5th back. Let's get Shedeur in here, and let's see what the kid has got, because why not?
The line there of not giving him a chance, it's 6 weeks, bub.
I do like the circus line, though. I'll steal that one at some point.
I just think like
what do you think this is? This is a circus.
I don't know.
This is a circus. We can bring out a circus.
So if a 5th rounder is a joke to Cleveland, what actually gets this deal done? Let's talk numbers. Here is the reality Cleveland media laid out this week, and it is a lot blunter than anything coming out of New York. According to the host breaking this down, a 5th-round pick is not just a lowball offer, it is basically an insult. The going rate being discussed, if the Browns move Shedeur at all, starts at a 3rd-round pick and realistically climbs toward a 2nd-rounder before Cleveland even picks up the phone to talk seriously. Think about what that means for a second. A 2nd-round pick in the NFL is not something teams give up for a backup quarterback they're lukewarm on. That is starter money. That is the kind of return you ask for when you actually believe in the player, and it tells you everything about how Cleveland privately views Shedeur even while he is stuck on the bench. And the reasoning behind that price tag is not complicated. The Browns have already put in the work. They drafted him, they have coached him, they have spent an entire season building whatever version of Shedeur ends up on an NFL field long term. Giving that away for a token pick makes zero sense from a football business standpoint, no matter how loud the trade rumors get in New York. One of the hosts even put it bluntly on air. We are not everyone's minor league farm system. We are not a feeder team where other franchises just pick apart the pieces they like. So what does this mean for the Jets specifically? It means the swap that got floated on WFAN, a fifth for a fifth, is not a real offer. It is a talking point. If New York wants to seriously pursue Shedeur Sanders, they are not walking away with him for spare parts. They are paying starter-caliber draft capital for a quarterback who has not played a single regular season snap. And for a franchise that just spent $40 million guaranteed on Justin Fields and watched it fall apart in 6 weeks, that is a brutal position to be in. Pay up big for a total unknown or ride out the rest of this season with a quarterback situation that is already on fire. There is also a version of this where nobody ever meets that price at all, and honestly, some of the people closest to this situation think that is exactly how it plays out. Not because Shedeur cannot help a team, but because no team calling in right now is desperate enough or patient enough to actually pay full asking price for a guy who has never taken a regular season snap.
We can agree.
Yeah.
There's a third round pick at a done
Oh, wait,
deal.
you said no more than a second?
Like second or first or anything else in between.
Yeah.
Like that's not happening. You're not getting anything in
I
round.
definitely not think you're getting a first. Yeah.
Wait,
But
you think there's a second out there?
I'm saying if you want Shedeur Sanders, you better come correct.
No, but I don't think anybody's going to do. I don't think realistically anybody's going to come and offer a second round pick for
Then he
Shedeur
stays
Sanders.
in Cleveland, burning hell.
Hey, I'm cool with that option. That's I'm good with that. I mean, think about what you're giving up if you give up Shedeur. And if you're Stfansky, you are very upset at that development because Shedeur is essentially, he could be his get out of jail free card when it's all said and done.
Oh, I don't even think Kevin thinks like that. I think Kevin would rather get fired than play Shedeur at this point. That's the way it feels. I'm not saying that's definitively what it is, but I'm not doing charity work here. I'm not doing charity work for Shedeur Sanders, and by the way, he doesn't need it, and I'm sure as hell not doing it for the Jets. You could have drafted him in the second, third, fourth, and I think their fifth was ahead of where you drafted Shedeur in the fifth. So no, get bent. Make me a real offer.
You got to pay the price.
Yeah.
Here is the part that should actually worry Browns fans more than the trade rumors. This might not even be about draft compensation. This might be about Kevin Stefanski. Because there is a growing theory in Cleveland media right now, and it is not about what the Jets are offering. It is about whether Kevin Stefanski even wants Shedeur Sanders on the field at all. The argument goes like this. Stfansky has been visibly, publicly attached to Dillon Gabriel since the moment Cleveland drafted him. Remember the reaction when Gabriel got picked? The fist pump, the energy in that room. That was not a normal draft reaction. That was a head coach who felt like he finally got his guy after years of getting burned at the position. And that attachment matters because it changes how you read every decision Stfansky has made since. If Shedeur Sanders represents a threat to the quarterback Stfansky has publicly bet his own reputation on, then every week Shedeur sits on the bench starts to look a lot less like a football decision and a lot more like a self-preservation decision. That is not a small accusation. That is basically saying the head coach might be more loyal to his guy than to putting the best quarterback on the field. And here is why that theory has legs. Cleveland has had every reason to at least test Shedeur Sanders this season. The Browns are not exactly lighting the league on fire right now. If this were purely about performance, you would expect a franchise struggling for answers to try every option available. Instead, Shedeur has been kept off the field, and the excuses keep shifting. There is even a darker version of this theory floating around locker room chatter. The idea that it might cost Dillon Gabriel $1 to earn trust from Stfansky, but it cost Shedeur $1.25 to earn that same trust. Same production, different price to buy in. If that is even a little bit true, it explains a lot about why the leash looks so different between these two young quarterbacks. Now, to be fair, this is still a theory. Nobody inside that building has confirmed Stfansky feels threatened by Shedeur Sanders, but the pattern is hard to ignore, and it lines up with everything we have seen since the draft. Gabriel gets the benefit of the doubt. Shedeur gets patience that is starting to look a lot like avoidance. And that puts Cleveland in a genuinely strange spot. If the front office believes Shedeur is worth a second-round pick and trade, but the head coach will not put him on the field, that is not a quarterback competition anymore. That is a front office and a coaching staff working from two completely different beliefs about their own roster. And eventually, one of those two sides is going to have to win that argument.
Was the frustrating part for myself. Now, why is it you think that Stfansky would rather be fired than play Shedeur?
Because of the entire way the Browns have handled this whole thing. I think Stfansky is very tied to Dillon Gabriel. I think that's a pretty well-documented thing. His reaction after drafting Dillon, like the fist pump told me I finally got one, right? And I think Shedeur was drafted over his objections, and I think it's very human right now if Kevin looks at Shedeur as a threat to his whoopee, and his whoopee is Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, his whoopie's going to get him fired if his whoopie doesn't start playing better football. I mean, that's the reality of it.
I just like you just keep referring to Dillon Gabriel as Kevin's whoopie because that's really funny.
Short term. I'm just adopting it.
Think of Shedeur right now like one of those mystery memorabilia boxes they sell at stadiums. Nobody knows exactly what they're getting, but everybody wants in. That comparison actually explains the entire situation better than anything else. Shedeur Sanders right now is a mystery box to the rest of the NFL. Teams do not know if he ends up being a real franchise answer or if he ends up being a guy who never sniffs the field. And that uncertainty is exactly why his value is sitting where it is. Right now, this is probably as high as his trade value ever gets because nobody outside Cleveland has seen him get exposed by a real NFL defense yet. That is also why Cleveland is in absolutely no rush. If Shedeur never plays a snap, he stays a valuable unknown, a second-round chip sitting on the shelf. But the moment he actually takes the field, everything changes. If he plays well, his value goes even higher, and Cleveland has zero incentive to trade him. If he struggles, that mystery box price tag disappears overnight, and suddenly nobody's offering anywhere close to a second-rounder anymore. There is actually a real deadline attached to this whole thing, according to Cleveland media. The offer, whatever it ends up being, basically expires the moment Shedeur steps onto the field in a real game. After that, you aren't trading a mystery box anymore. You're trading a known quantity, for better or worse, and the entire market resets. So there is genuinely a window here, and it is closing fast. The moment Shedeur Sanders sees real regular season snaps, this entire trade conversation either gets a lot more expensive or completely evaporates. That is the trap the Jets are staring at. Move now and pay starter-level draft capital for an unproven arm, or wait and either watch the price spike even higher or watch Cleveland shut the door on trading him entirely because he actually looks good. And there's one more wrinkle nobody in New York wants to think about. If Cleveland actually pulls off a trade like this and gets a real second-rounder for a fifth-rounder who never played a down, Shedeur becomes something close to a folk hero in Cleveland. Not because of anything he did on the field, but because of the value he generated just sitting there as a mystery box the rest of the league could not stop thinking about. For a Jets organization that just watched their big off-season quarterback plan collapse in real time, that is an impossible spot to be in. Desperation does not usually lead to smart asset valuation, and this front office is running out of patience fast. So no, this is not really about a fifth-round pick swap. This is about whether the Jets are desperate enough to pay a real price for a total unknown. Let's bring it back together. A WFAN host wants the Jets to call Cleveland and get this done fast, and you can understand why given what New York is dealing with at quarterback right now. But everything coming out of Cleveland says this is not a cheap swap. It is a second-round pick conversation at minimum, and that is before you even get into whether Kevin Stefanski wants Shedeur on the field in the first place. You have got a front office that clearly sees the value in what they built, a coaching staff that might be more loyal to a different quarterback than anyone wants to admit out loud, and a Jets team desperate enough to overpay for a player who has never taken a real NFL snap. That is a lot of moving parts, and none of them are lining up cleanly right now. The one thing that seems certain is this: the clock is ticking. Every week, Shedeur Sanders sits on the bench keeping his mystery box value alive. The second he actually plays, this entire conversation changes, one way or the other, and there will be no going back to a fifth-round pick negotiation ever again. So here is the real question heading into the rest of this season. Does Cleveland eventually cave and take a real offer for Shedeur Sanders, or do they hold on and let Kevin Stefanski's loyalty to Dillon Gabriel play out no matter what it costs them? Drop your take in the comments right now. Are the Jets desperate enough to pay a second-round pick for an unproven quarterback, or does Cleveland never let him go? Let me know down below. Smash like and subscribe.